So what does Night Beast and the Guyver have in common? I'm about to tell you here in just a second. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review and an unboxing of two new Visual Vengeance titles, Despiser and Kung Fu Rascals. Now, Visual Vengeance is a company that has been working with me for a while now, and I really enjoy their releases. They typically put out a lot of stuff that is very independent, like super independent stuff that you would never really see get this kind of treatment for. And they do a lot of like shot on video movies that are done in like the 90s and the 80s that were never released on like DVD and sometimes Blu-ray or anything. They're still just stuck on VHS. And what they do is they do the treatment on these and put all kinds of tons of extras on them as if they were like one of the most popular movies. Although it is kind of questionable these days because we see stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street getting a little bit of a treatment, but not as much as every other movie is getting. So this is getting more treatment than the Nightmare on Elm Street guys. So I want to be honest and upfront with you. I have made this video so many times. I actually had recorded and edited just about all of it, and I saved over top of it by accident on my master file. And so I'm just going to do this in a one take for you guys. I hope it's enough, and I hope you understand that there's going to be very minimal edits on this. So if I make mistakes and stuff that I say and I have to re-say it, please just understand and bear with me for the moment. The amount of editing I did on that video is too much. But I want to share this with you guys because I think some of you will enjoy it. I'm going to start with Despiser first because this is a movie that both of these I've never seen actually, but Despiser is one that I had never heard of before until, I actually watched it. The Kung Fu Rascals I did hear because the guy, Steve Wang, who directed this movie and made it and also came up with the practical effects and the suit for Predator, made Kung Fu Rascals with Les Claypool, by the way, the bassist for Primus. Yeah. And Despiser, actually, this movie had the effects of Night Beast, which you can see here is the cover. Vinegar Syndrome put this one out, but he did some of the like visual effects in that movie, which is not a very big movie either. So Despiser, what is it about? It's about this guy named Gordon who is down on his luck. He's a artist, like a painter. He does like fantasy artwork, and somehow his life has kind of turned for the worse. He's now working for some like crappy company and doing like Photoshop for their ad department, and like the guy's yelling at him because they're too creative and he just can't stand the job and gets fired. Goes home to his wife and she's like, hey, we got to move out because we got an eviction notice. And he's like, oh man, I thought they were going to give us an extra week. So he's obviously not doing well, and him and his wife are not doing well as a result of it. And she goes to stay somewhere else, and that night he goes out drinking with one of his buddies, gets in a car accident, and wallagazam, he's in another place that's kind of like Oz, only it's purgatory. Purgatory, where a bunch of people from all different times in history in America are living out this sort of war with this godlike creature in purgatory called Despiser. And the Despiser is trying to destroy that world to escape it. But Gordon is somehow sort of connected between the living world and the purgatory world, and he ends up becoming sort of like the Neo for purgatory, and he teams up with all these people. Now this movie has some of the weirdest, oldest, like sort of like special effects, like they use like After Effects, like the old style After Effects. It looks like a PS1 game, guys. It's still kind of really cool. And if you looked at the visuals on this, you would be like, oh God, this is the worst CGI I think I've ever seen. But you have to remember, this is like some of the earlier stuff, and this is sort of the not even the commercial version of CGI. It's like the consumer version. So he didn't even have access to the like main stuff, and he came up with this story that is really cool. And I actually really like the movie. You know, obviously not well acted. It's obviously got, you know, old outdated visuals and stuff like that, but it kind of looks like they took some of the graphics from like the show Lex, the sci-fi show Lex on Sci-Fi Channel from years ago, and mashed it into this movie. So it's like this sci-fi fantasy action movie with like some of the cheesiest dialogue that you'll ever hear. Like this line right here.
Remember, you're fighting for peace.
Fighting for peace is like screwing for virginity, Carl.
That alone made me a fan. And I think it's a movie that you can sit with your friends and like kind of have a laugh with and just enjoy the story, because it's not like a shitty effort. Like, you know, like maybe the acting isn't the best acting I've ever seen, and maybe the CGI isn't the best CGI I've ever seen, but the story is pretty decent. You'll have to understand, this is an indie film, and they really didn't have any money, but they did have crews of people like, you know, actually working on sets. They designed sets to match the sort of 3D animation, and I think it looks kind of cool. Plus, it's like an action sci-fi movie, so it's got like those lines in it that I just showed you that are just kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I honestly really like this movie, and you know, obviously most people are going to think this is the worst movie they've ever seen, but I urge you to check something like this out. It is out there on like on Prime Video, Tubi and stuff like that. But if you like it, I really urge you to pick up a copy of this, because I'm really glad to have this in my collection. I would say this is like a 6.5 out of 10 on an indie shoe budget, string budget kind of, you know, score. 6.5 out of 10. You know, for most people, that's like a 2 or a 3 out of 10. But I really like the creativity in this movie. And if you watch it and you have that kind of open mind to it, you'll appreciate it too. We got the other one from Visual Vengeance coming out the same time, and it's today. Both of these are coming out today, and that is Kung Fu Rascals, which Steve Wang is a huge fan of a lot of different things, and you can see it in this film. He obviously is a fan of Kung Fu. Les Claypool is a fan of Kung Fu. And Les Claypool was trying to make a Kung Fu movie while he didn't even know who Steve Wang was. And through the grapevine, sort of got to meet Steve Wang, because they wanted to put, you know, real Asian actors in the film so that it wasn't just a white guy's version of a Kung Fu movie, you know? And they were like, this doesn't feel right, you know? So they had Steve Wang sign on, and then he ended up making a feature-length film of it. Now, the film was supposed to be made for this other company that kind of went under, so they were going to give him like $30,000, I think, for it, and then they never got paid for it. But they decided to keep everything that they did, and it's about these three guys called the Kung Fu Rascals. It's mostly a spoof about Kung Fu movies and action films and kind of all the tropes that you would find in a Kung Fu film. I mean, some of the people's names, if you, it would seem kind of like, you know, a little too much. Like one of the main characters is Chen Chow Lo Mein, which Steve Wang himself actually plays and named. And then you got Lao Tse, who is this white guy playing a Bruce Lee wannabe who wears a wig. He's like, you would think the weakest of the bunch, but he actually is a really good fighter, but he's a poser. And that's why they say Lao Tse. Lousy is kind of the name. And then the other guy is Repo, which Johnny Psycho plays. And he's sort of like the, I don't know, the Mongol version of like these three guys. And he's not the smartest one in the shed, you know, like Chen is the big leader of the group, but they all carry like, you know, spirit, courage, and like these three things that you need. And they're going after this guy named Bamboo Man. And in order to get Bamboo Man, they have to go through all these other people. They have to fight Les Claypool, who plays the sheriff, his sidekicks, which are Darling and like Chicken Man, Darling also plays Bamboo Man in this movie. It's pretty funny, like Three Stooges type humor, but also kind of juvenile. Like there's a lot of like pee jokes and like just it's silly. It's really silly, but there's a little bit of a charm to it because it's so creative. Because even the stuff that is like low level, like money, like they didn't have the money to make, they make it look like really cool. So they're really not, it's like they're really trying to make this as good as they can possibly make it on nothing. And yeah, so some of the jokes land. There's a lot of jokes, so I think if you watch it a second time, it'll be more funny. But the gist is these guys end up on an island, and in order to restore their village to its former glory, the Kung Fu Rascals must go on a quest to find a power most big. The evil Bamboo Man sends out his forces to teach the Rascals a lesson in Kung Fu etiquette. Who will triumphant? Only the wise guy knows. Which there is a lot of like famous people in this. You got Cleve Hall, who was in this movie, who is pretty famous. He plays the old wise guy in this that they're talking about. You got a guy who's in full pig outfit, like looks like they do in the like Guyver movies kind of pig outfit. And this is like before they did the Guyver, by the way, I think. Yeah, technically it's like right before. I remember now. They did have the Kung Fu Rascals made beforehand. They did a couple of short films and the Kung Fu Rascals, but then they had the Guyver and then they kind of like bounced back and forth. So they basically are trying to fight this pig guy. There's another guy who is like, you know, the Bamboo Man. They got a big couple of giants in the film. It's all done through like these old techniques of film to kind of make it look real. And, you know, there's some actual fighting in there. Like they're actually fighting, and Les Claypool is actually acting like one of the bad guys. So it's kind of cool. And they do some really cool puppet work and like special effects. In fact, this whole movie has people with special effects creators in it, visually or physically, you know, like practical effects or visual effects in this whole movie. And it's a kind of a long one. It's about an hour and 50 minutes. So it's a little long, and the video quality is, you know, it's all standard definition, but it was shot on 8mm and then put onto 35mm. So if you can imagine, it's not the best looking quality. But, you know, this is the way they preserve some of these films, and they asked Steve Wang if he wanted to be a part of it, and they added a crap ton of extras on this. So if you're a fan of the Guyver and you like Steve Wang, I highly recommend you watch this movie. And if you like Kung Fu movies as well. And it's kind of like the perfect movie for me, because that's kind of what I do here on the channel. I love like horror movies and practical effects creatures, and I like watching cinema from around the world, and I like watching Kung Fu movies on top of it, cult films in general. And these both of these movies, I would say, are highly cult. But yeah, now I'm going to go over kind of like what's inside of them and show you kind of what's on them. All right, so this one is the limited edition slipcover that you get if you want to order it, and they have enough, of course. I wouldn't wait around. Here's the front cover of the original with a little bit of an adjustment. They got a third artwork right here on the back. If you want to pause to check out the stuff on this. This wonderful mini poster here. The stickers that they give you, kind of like the VHS ones that they used to give out back in the day on the VHS covers that say, you know, 18 plus, fantasy, etc. You got this little slip in here that kind of talks about how they got it all together. You can pause that if you want to read it. The inside, we get the disc with the little troll dolls. They do this really cool thing with the creatures in the movie, because there's some really actually not too bad looking creature work in this that is CGI with After Effects and everything like that. And it has this troll doll that is like toying with Gordon in the movie, and it's really ridiculous and silly. So, but yeah, you get this. It's just to have a little fun. But yeah, that's that one. Now on the extras for this one, you get a lot here. There's the director supervised SD master from the original tape elements. You get commentary from Philip Cook and Mark Redfield, and Cage Sheridan. We also get commentary with Sam Panico of B&S about movies, and Bill Van Ryn of Drive-In Asylum. You get the making of Despiser, which is, like they made it back in the day. There's deleted scenes, blooper reel, outtakes, the Despiser storyboard to animation, the original DVD menu of the DVD that they actually made of this movie, the behind the scenes gallery, image and art gallery. They got the original trailers, the Visual Vengeance trailer that they revamped, an Outworld trailer, and an Invader trailer, which are other movies that Philip J. Cook did. So if you like this movie, you might want to check out those ones. They got a stick your own VHS sticker set that I mentioned, the sleeve, the mini poster, the two-sided insert, and you get French audio soundtrack and optional English subtitles. So packed to the hill. And for Kung Fu, we got the cover here, which I like, but I kind of like this one a little bit better. And this one, of course, comes with your stickers. Whoops. Martial arts. You can see that they kind of gear them towards whatever they have. They also gave me these stickers. Now, I don't know if they come with it, but I'm pretty sure they do include them in most of their orders. So those are the official Rascals stickers and a Visual Vengeance sticker that they usually give me. The mini poster of the cover here, which I'll show you the reverse, by the way. There is also a little adaptation of a comic book in here that you can kind of go through the story, which I think is kind of neat. It's kind of like what they did in the Society Blu-ray, which has a little story in there, but it's really short. It's kind of condensed. The little two-sided thing that kind of talks about how they got it together. Kind of like the first. This is the front. Okay, and this is this side, which I think is the original cover. You can see the sort of pigman on there. Very cool. The disc, which is like the cover with Repo, Chen, and Lao Tse. The extras on here, the special features that you get along with this, is director supervised SD. They're always SD most of the time. The making of Kung Fu Rascals, which is like a whole documentary that is like literally an hour and 45 minutes long. Brand new feature-length documentary. It's the reunion of the three Rascals, which has them sitting down talking together as of today or 2023. Commentary with the director Steve Wang, actor Johnny Psycho and Troy Froman, with composer and actor Les Claypool and actor Ted Smith. They got commentary with Kung Fu Rascals superfans Justin DeClos and Dylan Chung. Steve Wang and Les Claypool meet again. Distributing Kung Fu Rascals on VHS, Chris Gore interview, behind the scenes video diaries, original Kung Fu Rascals Super 8 short film that they made to make this movie. That Les Claypool worked on, because Les Claypool, by the way, did the music and the sound effects for this movie. We also have Steve Wang's short film Code 9, which was the inspiration for the short film that they did after it, which was the Kung Fu Rascals, and then the Kung Fu Rascals feature film. Complete film threat video number 6 behind the scenes article, still gallery, behind the scenes image gallery, the Vengeance trailer, stick your own VHS sticker set, reversible, all that stuff, the mini poster, and optional English subtitles. There is no other languages on there. But yeah, so that's everything here for both of the movies. I really enjoy them. I would say that I liked the Despiser a little bit more. It's a little bit more on the serious side, but they both have their charm. I would say that because I didn't give you a score, but I would say about a 6 out of 10 on this one. These are indie budgets, so I'm basing that score on an indie budget score. So half that for yourself if you want to, do it. I just have a different sliding scale for movies that aren't Hereditary. You see what I'm saying? Like I got to have a scale for these guys because they're still entertaining, and I base them off of other independent films. So, but yeah, thank you, Visual Vengeance, for sending this out. I'm sorry messed up the video here, but I really do like these. And I think if you like independent cinema and you watch it and you know me and you've seen these kind of independent cinema films, trust me on these. I like these a lot. There's a fandom around the Despiser one all alone, and the Steve Wang one, just for the documentary alone, it's worth picking this one up. And they're usually pretty cheap. So I'll put some links down below for them. Thanks again, Visual Vengeance, for allowing me to do this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. I've got more on the way. I had to condense this video down into one take so that I could do other videos for you guys. So I hope you understand. But thanks for coming by. And as always, long live the void.